Alexander Grant, a 25-year-old man born and raised in London, was the perfect picture of modern life. He was handsome, worked at a prestigious technology company, owned a sports car that he often flaunted on Instagram, and was always present at the city's night parties. His life was full of glitter and freedom, something many people his age considered ideal. Yet behind the smile he always showed, there was an emptiness haunting his soul. Long nights were often spent sitting on the balcony of his apartment, staring at the glittering city lights while asking himself, "Is this enough? Is life only about working, having fun, and then dying?" That question never left him, even though he tried to drown it out with alcohol and endless entertainment. Everything changed one night when Alexander received shocking news. James, his close friend since high school, died in a car accident. The news struck his heart hard, as if shattering the walls he had built to cover up the emptiness of his life. James was only 26, still young, full of plans, and suddenly all of that was gone. Alexander sat alone in his room, clutching an old photo of the two of them, while tears fell unnoticed. For the first time in his life, he felt how fragile humans were. If he could go that quickly, what about me? What happens after death, he thought. That night he couldn't sleep. Questions about the meaning of life haunted his mind. In the following days, Alexander became more withdrawn. He began to seek answers in places Westerners usually turn to. Books on philosophy, motivational seminars, even Eastern-style meditation. But all of it only gave temporary peace, not the answers he was looking for. Deep inside, there was an unquenchable thirst. One afternoon, as he walked home from work, his steps were halted by a sound that was unfamiliar yet soothing. It was the call to prayer, echoing from a small mosque on the corner of the street. Alexander stood frozen, listening to the chant of words he didn't understand, but somehow made his heart feel calm. There was something in that sound that touched the depths of his soul. He didn't know why, but that night the sound of the adhan kept echoing in his head. Curiosity drove him to find out more. He began typing the word Islam into a search engine. He read article after article, from scholarly ones to highly controversial pieces. He also found videos of Muslims explaining the meaning of life, death, and the purpose of mankind. The more he read, the greater his curiosity grew. He was surprised to learn that Islam believes in one God, Allah, who created the universe and all life. It all sounded logical to him. If this universe is orderly, there must be someone who manages it, he murmured. His search deepened when Alexander met Omar, a Moroccan colleague. Omar was different from his other friends. He was friendly, honest, and always looked calm, even when work piled up. One day, Alexander mustered up the courage to ask, "Omar, what makes you always so calm?" Omar smiled, then replied, "Because I believe in Allah, this life is temporary. Everything has a purpose." Those simple words struck Alexander like lightning. That night, he couldn't stop thinking about them. A few weeks later, Omar invited him to the mosque. Alexander hesitated, afraid of being judged, but curiosity outweighed his fear. The moment he stepped into the mosque, he felt a different atmosphere. Calm, peaceful. Far from the noise of the outside world, he sat in a corner, watching people pray with devotion. Their movements were uniform, their faces full of tranquility. Do they all feel something I've been looking for? He thought. An imam approached him with a warm smile, speaking gently and answering Alexander's questions without judgment. Every answer felt logical, as if filling the empty holes in his mind all this time. Alexander began reading the translation of the Quran. The more he read, the more he felt something different. Verses about life, death, and the greatness of God made him cry silently. One night he read the verse, "And I did not create the jinn and mankind except to worship me." QSAD, F 856. His heart trembled. For the first time, he felt he had found the purpose of life. But he was also gripped by fear. What about his family? What about his friends? Would they accept if he embraced Islam? That inner struggle made him restless for days. Until one night, Alexander had a dream. In his dream, he was walking alone on a dark road, then saw a bright light at the end of the path. A soft voice said, "Follow that light." When he woke up, his heart felt at peace. Without hesitation, he contacted Omar and said, "I want to become a Muslim." Tears streamed down his cheeks, as he uttered the Shahada in front of the Imam and several worshippers in that small mosque. Ashadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashadu anna Muhammadan Rasulallah. Da-da-da. Those simple words changed his entire life. From that day on, Alexander felt as if he were reborn. His life became more meaningful. He left his old habits, began learning to pray, reading the Quran, and deepening his understanding of Islam. Challenges came, of course. Some friends distanced themselves from him. His family was confused and even angry. But the peace he felt was irreplaceable. He knew that he had finally found the truth he had been seeking all along. Alexander no longer felt empty. He knew the purpose of his life, and he knew to whom he would return. A few days after Alexander, now he preferred to be called Ali, pronounced the Shahada, he sat alone in his room, staring at the newly bought translated Quran. In his chest was an extraordinary sense of peace, but in the corner of his heart there was also unease. He knew challenges would come, especially from his family. They had always known him as a modern man who loved freedom, not someone who turned to God. He delayed telling his parents, but the secret couldn't be kept forever. That Sunday, he decided to return to his parents' house. His mother greeted him with a warm hug as usual, while his father sat in the living room reading the newspaper. They chatted casually about work until finally, Ali took a deep breath and said, "Dad, Mom, I want to tell you something important." They looked at him with curiosity. "I've converted to Islam." The room fell silent. His mother froze, while his father slowly put down the newspaper. "What do you mean, Alexander? You're joking, right?" Father's voice sounded cold. "I'm serious, Dad. I've been studying it for months. I believe this is the right path." His mother began to cry. "What did they do to you? Who influenced you?" Her sobs broke. His father stood up, staring at Ali with angry eyes. "You've gone mad? You're leaving our family traditions for a religion that's not even ours?" His father's voice echoed in the living room. Ali tried to explain that no one had influenced him, that he found the truth after a long search. But his words meant little. Ali's father said firmly, "If you stick with this decision, don't expect a place in this house." That day, Ali left with a broken heart, but his resolve did not waver. He knew this path would not be easy. He returned to his apartment, sat for a long time on the prayer mat he had just bought, tears falling in his prostration. "Oh Allah, give me strength," he whispered. The following days, tests came from all directions. Some of his old friends sent messages mocking him for leaving the carefree lifestyle. "Seriously, Lex? Now, you're the guy who has to pray 5 times a day?" wrote one of his friends. Some tried to tempt him to return to his old life. Invitations to parties, drinks, and women flooded in again. Ali rejected them all, even though deep down he had to struggle hard against temptation. Whenever he felt weak, he reopened the Quran, reading verses that strengthened his heart. Learning to be a Muslim was not easy for him. He had to memorize the prayer movements, recite supplications in Arabic that felt foreign on his tongue. There were nights when he felt frustrated because of mistakes in reading, but he never gave up. Omar was always there, patiently teaching him.
"Don't worry, Ali.
Allah sees your efforts," Omar said one night as they prayed together in the mosque. Those words gave Ali renewed strength.